Ladies and gentlemen, the energetic Arrow! Welcome, Arrow.
Thank you.
Welcome to this is the first episode, Arrow. We call it the pilot episode of the Warren Cassell Show, and you're on it. It's the first.
Congratulations. Sure, I feel honored. I feel important. And, I'm rubbing shoulders with Warren Cassell. Is this show going to continue and become one of the top Caribbean shows there is?
I take that as prophecy, Arrow. You just spoke the word, and I
Thank you.
receive it.
Thank
I receive
you.
it. Now, Arrow, you have infiltrated the world from Africa to South Asia with your music. Your music has been featured in television programs, in movies such as The Little Mermaid and Pretty Woman, just to name a few. How can you possibly do this without a manager?
Well, it's easy to do if you are motivated as I am. And the problem with managers is that most of the managers I had to end up managing them instead of they managing me. So I decided, look, I'm going to go into read some books, do some research and, kind of handle things my own way.
Of course, in the 80s, when you came up with Hot, 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 you never had to worry about what we call the pirates of the Caribbean, those who are downloading CDs and are selling now on the street, and you've sold millions. How can artists compete in today's world, given the modern technology and the easy access to pirating music?
Well, it's getting very difficult, particularly for Caribbean artists, because if you have just a home base, it is difficult with the piracy that's going on. But life, you should be like a river. If you're blocked one way, you meander some other place and find other ways and means of making a living. So, I get involved in a lot of publishing deals. I get my music involved in movies, in toys. I kind of raise to more commercial performances, where my plan is to do 12 shows a year, right? I have an international band that's based in New York. We do conventions, whether Discover Card, American Express. We do perform every now and then for a king.
And I'm sure they're good like the Warren Cassell Band, right?
If I'm going to take the Warren Cassell Band with me?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay, sure.
If
That's
they could,
promise.
if we got a promise.
Yes, indeed. Now, I'm glad you brought up the thing about, if you're blocked one way like a river, you turn to another avenue. And, of course, you mentioned toys, because my producers have here this parrot, just recently released, December 2007, that is. And it's a parrot that eventually, it sings hot, hot, hot. See, it says hello to you.
You don't like Warren? Come on. Come on. Say it. You don't have the right touch, Warren.
Okay. So tell us, what's the first step in getting your music? Of course, when each sold, you get a royalty. What's the first step? Let's say I'm an artist. I want my song to be licensed to a toy company, whether it's the singing chicken that gets up and say, I'm feeling hot, 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 and starts wobbling its wings, and don't want to get people hungry, Arrow. What's the first step in getting a licensing deal like this?
Well, I think the first step is usually a company can approach you and they may have a concept. Or you can have a concept which you could get somebody to throw at a company and give them the idea. But the good thing about Hot Hot Hot, it has been such a passport for me that people come run looking for me, then we have to go to look for them. So, Hot 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 is a gift from God. And that's the whole crux of the matter. It's just unbelievable.
Okay. Now, you've played exclusive gigs for some real high-profile persons. You've received the award from Her Majesty the Queen. Mm-hmm. You've also performed for the King of Morocco. Did he understand what you were saying when you were singing in the palace? And I understand that he never allowed cameras in the palace until then. So, did he understand what he was saying? How was he? Was he jigging? Was he moving? And what was it like performing for royalty like that?
It was a great feeling. I mean, the king wanted me to come there for New Year's Eve. And I told him, look, it's a very difficult time for me. When the ambassador spoke to me, is that, Christmas is when all the kids and the family get together. He said, bring the entire family. And you know, that's what he did. He brought everybody over there, and of course he enjoyed it.
And my producers told me that he flew in 66 Brazilian dancers.
He did that. He brought in people from New York. You know, it was an unbelievable performance. I mean, he treated us as royalty.
And did you have a written contract?
No, the king don't. You can't sign a contract with the king. No, his word is his honor.
And that was the exception?
That was the exception. There's no contract.
Of course, you've done mostly every soccer event in the entire world. You've done World Cup cricket, and we see the adrenaline rush from World Cup cricket. Now, which country would you say, having performed worldwide, which country would you describe as your best soccer audience?
In the Caribbean or the world?
In the world.
Colombia, South America.
Colombia, South America.
Definitely, without a doubt. Cartagena in particularly.
Why?
It's just a very fluid audience. They get involved and knock cans, and it's just a crazy audience in Colombia. And you know, they, particularly on the Caribbean side, Cartagena, they're exposed to close to Jamaica. They have a lot of Jamaican influence, but they just love music.
And what was it like performing in terms of the adrenaline rush? What was the feeling? And did it differ from performing, say, like in Montserrat or St. Kitts?
Well, think about Colombia. You could sing all day. I mean, the crowds just get into it. They knock cans, they blow bull horns, they come on stage. It's really a performance of a performance.
And compared with World Cup cricket?
Well, World Cup cricket was fantastic too. I mean, the reception was really good.
Okay, Arrow, we have a game now we want to play. We call this 60 seconds. You saw the game we played with Claudette. It was called a quickie, but we only do that with the female guests. Oh. We call your game the 60-second game, okay? What I'll do is I'll shoot you some questions in 60 seconds, and you have to answer me very quickly. Starting with question 1. What's the most expensive item of clothing you've bought?
You got me there. I would say the most expensive item of clothing was my first performance at Madison Square Gardens in New York.
Okay. What are you scared of?
Failure.
Interesting. When did you first realize you were famous?
I didn't realize I was famous until you mentioned it.
You got me there. What was your last dream?
Dream? The last successful dream was Martin Luther King. I tend not to dream. I tend to be more realistic. I don't sleep long enough to dream, Warren.
And finally, as we wrap down our 60 seconds, describe yourself in 3 words, Arrow.
Self-motivated workaholic.
Ladies and gentlemen, the energetic Arrow. Of course, we can't ask Arrow to come on the Warren Cassell Show without performing. He's going to give us do something. We have a band here, Arrow.
Remember,
if we have a band, then we have Arrow.
You are not the king of Morocco. Do you have the contract papers there, Warren?
Well, my producers, I believe, have them backstage, which I hope you have signed already. If not, take my word. I'm an attorney.
You know, I could maybe grant you a waiver if the beautiful CP Claudette Peters. She's the only one who can make me say.
Okay, well, of course.
Is Claudette here?
Producers, could we bring Claudette Peters on stage, please?
Only if Claudette comes. Here she comes.
The lovely Claudette Peters, ladies and gentlemen.